Today we are solving systems of equations. Now we've done this before, but today we're solving systems of equations that involve a quadratic function as well, and we haven't done that before. So step one, when we have two equations, we want to use substitution to get rid of the y value in each equation. So we want to use substitution to get rid of the y. Step two, we want to set up a quadratic equation that is equal to 0. So we want to set up a quadratic equation that is equal to 0. We will be factoring, so we want to solve by factoring the equation. And then remember that sometimes we might need to complete the square. We can have 0, 1, or 2 solutions depending on what happens. And then something I wanted to add in is that at the end we need to find the ordered pair. So we need to find the ordered pair, and I'll show you how to do that. It's pretty simple. All right, so example 1, we have f of x equals negative x squared minus x plus 2, and we have f of x equals 2x plus 2. So we are going to set these two equal to each other because f of x is y, and they're both equal to y, so we can substitute it in. So we have negative x squared minus x plus 2 equals 2x plus 2. Now, we want to take everything over to one side. So in this case, I want to take the left-hand side over to the right-hand side. So that means my left-hand side is going to become 0. I'm going to add x squared to both sides. I'm going to add an x, so that gives me 3x. And I'm going to subtract 2, which means that's a 0. And so now I'm going to factor it out. X squared plus 3x becomes x times x plus 3. So we factored. We need to set, when we solve, we set each factor equal to 0. So x equals 0 and x equals negative 3. Now, when we're finding our ordered pair, you can plug in your x value into either equation. I would say plug it into 2x plus 2 because it's easier to solve. But either one you plug into, it's going to work the same way. So f of 0 is 2 times 0 plus 2, which equals 2. So our one point is at 0, 2. And our other point, when we find f of negative 3, is 2 times negative 3 plus 2, which is negative 6 plus 2, or negative 4. So our second point is at negative 3, negative 4. All right, so the hardest part of that one was that we started with a negative x squared on one. And so I always want to get a positive x squared term. It just makes it easier to factor, in my opinion. All right, for example number 2, let's just kind of like draw a line here, separate them out. We have y equals x squared minus 6x plus 3, and y plus x equals 5. So if you notice, y plus x equals 5 is not into y equals format. So we need to do that. So we make this y equals negative x plus 5. And now we can set our two equations equal to each other. So x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals negative x plus 5. So I'm going to bring everything over from the right to the left. So we're going to have x squared minus 5x plus 4. So just make sure you're adding and subtracting things correctly. All right, so when we factor this, I'm going to do factor by grouping. So that's x squared. What two numbers multiply to be 4 and add up to negative 5? I'm going to have minus 4x. minus x, and then a plus 4. So I split up the minus 5x. And so then I'm going to have x times x minus 4 and minus 1 times x minus 4 equals 0. So we have x minus 1 times x minus 4, and I used grouping there. So if we set each of them equal to 0, x minus 1 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0, we get 1 and 4. And so I'm going to plug it into my equation right here, y equals negative x plus 5. So for this first one, f of 1 equals negative 1 plus 5, or 4. So we have a point at 1, 4. And then we also have a point at, when we have f of 4 equals negative 4 plus 5. So that equals 1. So we have another point at 4, 1. So 1, 4 and 4, 1, the two answers for example 2. And then number 3, we have y equals negative 3 and y equals x squared minus 4. So this one is probably the easiest one of all of them. We get x squared minus 4 equals negative 3. I can just add 4 to both sides. X squared equals 1. When I take the square root of 1, and we haven't gone over this part yet, but just know when I take the square root of 1, that equals plus or minus 1. So, and then when I look at y equals negative 3, there's no x value in there. So my two solutions would be 1, 3, and negative 1, 3. Quite simple. So that is solving systems of equations with a quadratic equation involved.